So introduce yourselves and then let's get on with the truck.
Roger Babick, President of Master Provisions, John Eldridge, our Director of Operations, and Carol Buckhouse, who is our Communications Consultant. We thank you for your consideration of a matching gift to replace 2 semi-tractors, which are the power units to move trailers of food to help other organizations and feed hungry people all throughout northern Kentucky and greater Cincinnati. John has been heavily involved in overviewing our operations needs, and he'll explain the need for 2 tractors and what our thinking is of how you can help us serve others more effectively.
First, I want to say thanks for taking this time to hear what we have to say. A couple of things. One, we have 2 power units right now that have nearly 1 million miles on them.
Those are semis.
Those are semis, so tractors being the power units that you see pulling 53-foot trailers around on the interstate that you probably readily avoid. So anyway, we have these power units that help move around all the different trailers of, Roger mentioned food, but there are a lot of other resources because our mission is serving God by connecting resources to needs. So we serve about another 200 nonprofits locally where we're helping fulfill their resource needs. It's logistical help, it might be food, it might be clothing, it just might be capacity building for event-driven things, whether it's Go Pantry or whether we're working with things like Gateway or Cincinnati State where we're trying to give practical opportunities for drivers to drive trucks. So in this collaboration, we need these power units to be able to allow us to fulfill our mission because the current ones are in great jeopardy. Fortunately, we have a friend in the Durr Foundation as well who, as a friend of Master Provisions, they have said, we will help you fund one of the trucks if you get the funding for the second truck because we know the need for both of them are great because they did come do a site visit and they saw the trucks themselves. We've had the trucks professionally assessed and so they are on their last leg. We think it's very important to be safe. We need to be DOT compliant like everyone else that's on the road. There is no exception for nonprofits. And these units, starting them out as new units, will free up the funds that we're spending to constantly repair these older units, and it'll allow us to spend that money on the mission. The other thing that it does is when these units are down, it doesn't allow us to fulfill our mission. So having these newer trucks that are under warranty will keep us on the road and keep us with capacity building because on a weekly basis, we are being asked by more and more agencies to come alongside them and help them fulfill their mission. And we're a massive capacity building element of that. And these power units are absolutely key. If the wheels aren't turning, the things aren't going to the places they need to get to.
How old are the trucks, the 2 power units that you have now?
So the
Almost
2,
10 years each.
they're actually older than 10 years. So they're 2006 and 2007. So they're 10 and 11 years respectively, hence why they're at the 1 million mile mark.
Each of them?
Each of them are about 1 million miles of truck.
A normal truck in the trucking industry, how old is the useful life of a semi-cab?
So most of the time in the for-profit trucking industry, they're moving trucks every 3 to 4 years and switching them out because they know the risk.
What's the mileage?
So those trucks, they're moving 300, 400,000 miles. Those trucks are out of their fleet. If you had an owner-operator, he's the truck driver and the business owner and all that, you might see him go 700,000 miles to close to 1 million miles, but it's because it's his only thing and he's going to drive until it dies. It's kind of where we're at right now.
So how much time and money are you spending on these 2 trucks right now that has pushed it to the point that you just got to do something?
Well, it's tens of thousands of dollars. We just looked at something, I think it was in the finance meeting we had the other day, it was like $36,000 that we spent just in maintenance and repair. And then when these guys are down, and just last week we had a power steering pump go out one of these trucks and they go out while you're driving. And so then you have to pay for roadside assistance or a tow or all these things that's just so expensive. So, and then it frustrates your volunteers or your drivers or things, and retention becomes a real issue. And anyone knows for a nonprofit, having key volunteers that are Class A CDL drivers are really imperative because these guys, they're professional drivers and it puts them at risk if they have any type of infraction on their license as well.
So the Durr Foundation has committed $85,000 for a cab.
Yes, ma'am.
And they have requested that in order to get that one, you have to get matching funds for the second. or you don't even get the first.
That's true, and so, so we're in a situation now, which is why we approached the Sewell Foundation, because you guys get us, and you've also been able to come across all the other agencies that we impact, because we are really the only resourcing nonprofit in the area. We're really helping the other groups. So we've approached you guys because we felt like you could have capacity and you have understanding, because a lot of times people are not really excited about capacity building with trucks, but these just pay off on so many levels. This is critical. So if we're able to get funding from you, we can approach the DER Foundation, they'll release the money, and we can make a buy in fourth quarter of this year, which is critical because $85,000 is a deal on one of these trucks new, and you have to make that buy in the fourth quarter. Otherwise, beginning new model year next year, things suddenly get a lot more expensive, and buying used equipment puts us right back in the position we're in now.
So if our board would approve one half of a truck, how would you get the other half?
So in approaching the DER Foundation, let them know, hey, we've got one, we've got your truck, and we've got half of the commitment from the Sewell Foundation through whatever documentation that you would supply to us. We would say, hey, we're going to go ahead and ask the vendor to invoice us. We'll construct a deal for the 2 trucks. We'll take delivery of one of them now, and then work on taking the delivery of one of them a little bit later while we get the rest of the money. We have a real sense of urgency of getting this deal done now, because going into the winter time is very hard on diesel equipment. These other trucks are in such dire need that we need to get them off the road and get the right things on the road. So we'll be going to the vendors right away to try to get the invoice and build a financial deal so we can acquire the trucks and make this happen.
As we put the new trucks in service too, we will sell the old units, but they won't draw more than $3,000 to $5,000 a piece. But that money from that sale would be applied towards that gap of $42,500.
Hey, Jerry, do you have any questions?
No, I think we're fine.
Bridget? I'm good.
No, ma'am.
Hit everything.
Hey, Frank knows that really cold diesel things don't run well. So ask him if you don't believe me.
Big time.
Okay, so let me see if I have any other little, you hit the need, 200 nonprofits depend upon you.
I don't think I said that part, but maybe I did.
Okay, and how,
just did.
I just did.
Good job.
And let's see, you're a distribution center, not a warehouse.
Yeah, we are redistributing the goods to the folks.
Yeah. And the return on investment is for the community at large.
It really is.
And let's see what else. Truck is a catalyst.
You mentioned the colleges, but can you mention a little bit about the driver program, the training program to help people get their CDLs and taking people to a different level?
Yeah. So at night, where these trucks were sitting idle, we've started to try to generate some revenue by driving these trucks at night and then giving second chance opportunities to people that might have had a blemish past or may not have had a career path. And we bring them in and begin them in the non-CDL box trucks and get them acclimated, and we have some folks that help train, and then they get to the point to where they can drive one of these Class A CDL trucks, and that's how they'll end up with Gateway and some of the other folks where they have the University of Cumberland and able to go ahead and get their Class A CDL certification. And we've had drivers progress through the box truck to the Class A CDL, and now they're actually employed, like one of them for the CrossFit company is a dedicated driver, and he's got health insurance and regular weekly income, and his whole life is turned around, and he's not unique in his story, and his name's Steven. And so just looking at that and saying that's a unique thing, and so every night we're trying to do that to help redeem these guys and give them purpose, and then somehow create a little bit of cash flow for us, because that is a constant struggle for the ministry.
Now, the DOT compliant part of the trucks, are your 2 semis right now DOT compliant?
So they're compliant. What's eating us up is that you get roadside inspections on every little thing, and so we have to spend tremendous amounts of money in just keeping it in order. That's why that number is so big per truck. So we're compliant, but just like the power steering pump going out or a light marker light not working anymore, just more and more things are going bad because they're older, and just costs us a lot to keep them compliant. But we won't roll them up the road unless they are compliant.
You have professional drivers that will drive for you at some point in time that are DOT licensed.
Yes.
So if they would be stopped for one of these random checks, Is
Yes,
it
so
random?
That happens when you're going through a scale, or you'll see enforcement officers along the way that kind of look like police, but they're DOT enforcement officer. They usually say vehicle enforcement on the side. So these drivers have individual liability. That's part of the legislation. So getting people to drive our trucks, because we depend a lot on volunteers. So it's not just this training, but we have a lot of volunteers who might drive for UPS dedicated freight, or might drive for CCX or whoever else. And so they're at risk, because when they get pulled over, it isn't just Master Provisions DOT, but their individual CDL license, and they get infractions, and that puts their employment in jeopardy, or possibly their license. And so therefore people are very hesitant when they get in older, very at-risk equipment, because they're risking their livelihood or their ability to stay certified.
Okay, any closing remarks?
Well, we're really grateful for the fact that you guys would consider this. I asked the question because, of course, we were like, hey, how could we get all 85,000? And some of the things, how could we help you with half a truck? And when I heard that you all had 19 folks or 19 organizations or requests that you were looking at, I'm just really grateful for the generosity that your organization has, and the fact that you're willing to entertain looking at 19 folks and organizations and trying to empower them, whatever their missions are. So I'm super grateful for the generosity. I know all of us are. I know the people back at Master Provisions who haven't gotten to say thank you. We talked about the Sewell Foundation with all of our volunteers this morning, and have been regularly, and they're also very grateful for the fact that you've given us capacity that allows them to come serve their community as well. So we're very, very grateful for that.
Okay, well, thanks for coming in today.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you very
Thank you for
much.
having us.